In early 1939, German chemists Otto Hahn and Fritz Strassmann were running experiments on uranium when they observed something that defied known physics. The heavy, stable nucleus of the uranium atom had suddenly shattered. They discovered fission. Firing a single neutron at a uranium atom split it, releasing a burst of energy. The secondary effect was the real threat. The fractured atom ejects more neutrons, which strike neighboring atoms, triggering an exponential, cascading chain reaction. Recognizing the danger, Albert Einstein wrote directly to U.S. President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He warned that this German discovery could lead to the construction of extremely powerful bombs of a new type. The basic mechanism for the ultimate weapon of mass destruction was no longer a theory. As Europe moved toward war, that mechanism was controlled by a regime willing to use it. On the same day Germany invaded Poland to start the Second World War, they officially launched the Uranprojekt, a secret research program tasked with turning nuclear fission into a weapon. They recruited Werner Heisenberg to lead it. Heisenberg was a giant of quantum mechanics and a Nobel laureate who had formulated the uncertainty principle by the age of 25. After analyzing the data, Germany's top physicists reached a consensus. They believed a functioning atomic bomb could be completed within 5 years, setting a potential completion date in 1944. At this moment, Nazi Germany held a 3-year lead in nuclear research. The American effort to build a matching weapon wouldn't even begin for another 36 months. As the 1940s began, the regime's own policies began to erode their scientific lead. The same aggressive anti-Semitism that fueled their rise was now systematically gutting their research institutions. The Nazi state labeled modern physics as Jewish science. This triggered a mass exodus of the continent's most brilliant researchers, who were forced to flee to avoid imprisonment or death. This left the Uranprojekt dangerously understaffed. Meanwhile, the United States welcomed these refugees, placing the very minds the Nazis had expelled at the center of the Allied atomic program. By purging their own universities, the Nazi leadership had inadvertently handed their greatest intellectual assets to their future enemies. In 1942, as J. Robert Oppenheimer was being recruited to lead the American Manhattan Project, Werner Heisenberg was struggling to maintain the momentum of the German effort. During a high-level briefing with the Führer, Heisenberg chose to downplay the bomb's potential. He reported that while a weapon was possible, the technical hurdles were too high to justify a massive diversion of wartime resources. Historians still debate Heisenberg's motives. Some suggest he was a hero who intentionally stalled the program to prevent a Nazi victory. Others argue he was simply a scientist who realized he lacked the resources to succeed and didn't want to admit failure. Regardless of his intent, Heisenberg's report effectively ended the Nazi ambition of achieving a nuclear strike during the war. By 1943, the failing blitzkrieg and the mounting casualties on the Eastern Front were draining the German economy. The regime could no longer afford long-term speculative research. Funding was diverted away from physics and into the mass production of tanks and conventional munitions. For a high command focused on immediate survival, the atomic bomb became a secondary concern. Constructing an atomic weapon requires the total industrial capacity of a superpower. By the mid-war years, the crumbling Nazi empire lacked the infrastructure to even attempt it. The results of the race were made clear in 1945. After 3 years of intense industrialized effort, the United States successfully detonated the world's first nuclear weapon. In contrast, the German program ended in total failure. Allied investigators found nothing but a small, non-functioning prototype reactor that hadn't even achieved a self-sustaining reaction. Heisenberg was captured by Allied forces and spent his remaining years in a state of historical ambiguity. He eventually helped a post-war Germany build a peaceful nuclear energy program, leaving the weaponized era behind. A combination of self-inflicted scientific purges, the demands of a failing war, and its lead scientist's hesitation ensured the Nazi regime never achieved a nuclear monopoly.